is in Houston for us now. So how's the cleanup actually going in the wake of Hurricane Harvey, Diane?
Well, the cleanup is coming along, but as you can see behind me, this is very typical of what you see in neighborhoods all over the city. People have emptied the contents of their home that were flooded. Much of this stuff was touched by floodwaters, and it's gotten moldy. You have to get these items out of your home within 20 to 48 hours because of the threat of mold. Now, in other areas, people haven't been able to do that yet, and so mold is growing, and it's putting their health in jeopardy. Help has finally arrived at Tony Green's home 4 weeks after Hurricane Harvey. Volunteers rip out drywall and discard belongings ruined by floodwaters.
That's mold.
Mold is everywhere, crawling up walls, creeping inside closets.
Mold.
Yeah.
Is this typical of what you see in their homes?
Yeah, this is especially if they've had, 4 feet in water and it's been several weeks post-Harvey.
It could also be threatening Green's health.
After I cleaned up, seemed like I had a cough. So I've been taking cough syrup, but still have the cough a little bit.
Extended exposure to mold without protection from face masks and gloves can trigger a number of illnesses, from allergies to respiratory disease to skin irritation. In hot, humid Texas, flooding from Harvey made Houston the perfect breeding ground for mold. Since the hurricane, Harris County, which includes Houston, has seen a slight increase in respiratory ailments. On streets all over Houston, residents have piled up the flood-damaged contents of their home, waiting to have it picked up. And you can smell the mold on everything from furniture to clothing to mattresses. And even though they think they've gotten rid of all the mold, it could still be lingering inside their houses. Mold can hide in appliances and spread to ventilation systems.
Hey, how are you? I'm Dr. Shaw. Whoa.
That's why Harris County's Public Health Director, Dr. Umair Shaw, and his staff are going door to door, urging residents to use caution around it.
Anything that's touched that flood water, that you just treat that with extra care and caution. We're saying, when in doubt, throw it out. If there are things that you can't clean, you can't disinfect, if you can't assure that that is going to be safe, then go ahead and throw it out.
So all we're going to ask you to do is spit into the tube.
Researchers from Baylor College of Medicine are also monitoring the public's exposure to mold.
So this one's going to go just inside the nose.
They're collecting nasal and saliva samples from volunteers at community events to test for mold toxicity.
We're able to do some pretty amazing analysis, so we'll know exactly which types of mold individuals have been exposed to.
It could be months before the test results are compiled, and Baylor knows the extent of mold exposure in Houston. As for Tony Green, he's decided not to take any chances with his cough.
I am worried a little bit about it, so I'm going to have to go to the doctor and get it checked out.
And that could prevent a minor irritation from becoming a medical emergency.
Action to protect child support workers in the wake of a Contact 13 investigation.
Darcy Spears first broke the story of the sick building that houses the Child Support Center of Southern Nevada. She was there when the union demanded workers' health and safety come first.
Item 52 is to authorize...
Child support workers came to the county commission meeting armed with more than 100 signatures on a petition.
Imagine going to work every day, and it's a job that you love, a job that you do well. But where you're going to work is making you feel physically ill.
The Greystone building at 1850 East Flamingo is the source of their sickness. That's according to multiple doctors who've seen multiple employees after mold was found under carpet and in other areas. Attorney Billy Marie Morrison represents 10 employees.
This is sick building syndrome, so they have to do something about it. The longer they wait, the worse it's going to get for them. The more the taxpayers are going to have to pay, because this is going to get litigated.
The county was accepting doctor's notes and temporarily moved employees who were sick, but they say the mold is gone, the air is fine, and everyone has to stay in the building.
But what you would find in this building is no different than what you would find outside the building.
What's going on here is just not the air quality. It's these spores have landed on everything. They've landed on the people, their clothing, their pocketbooks, whatever they're carrying back and forth to work. So this stuff is, going other places.
And though some claims were accepted in the past, now workers' compensation cases are being denied.
Are you guys being allowed in the building?
No. Including those filed after a May evacuation, the day after employees moved back in following a mold remediation.
Paramedics were called. Many women had to go to the hospital by ambulance, and all of those claims are denied.
That's despite hospital records documenting toxic exposure. The county says state law precludes them from commenting on workers' comp claims. The union says it's time commissioners stepped in.
We demand Clark County take action in this matter and fix this problem.
The building is in Commissioner Chris Giuncaliani's district.
So they can be reassured that their issues are still going to be pursued.
Yes, they will not be dismissed. I mean, I have to understand that management sometimes can be perceived as such. I hope that that's not their intent, but the health and safety of not only our employees, but other people that use that facility. If it's been fixed, then let's sit down and talk with what's going on. But if someone's still ill because of where they're located, then we should find accommodations for folks.
It's ultimately the Commission's call whether or not to relocate affected employees. Commissioner Giuncaliani plans to go to the Greystone building herself, talk to those involved, and meet with the union to work toward a permanent solution. Darcy Spears, Channel 13, Action News.
The county says its own safety officer has reviewed and endorsed all of the county's efforts. Those plans include additional future testing to ensure the air quality remains acceptable.
Prospective UNLV students need to get their
After historic flooding wreaked havoc on hundreds of homes in South Florida, many are now facing a slew of long-term issues.
And one of those issues is potentially deadly. CBS News Miami's Joan Murray joins us now with how mold is growing to be a big concern.
Inside the house, it's up to my, see, up to here.
It took 4 days for the water to subside before the Figueroas could get back into their Edgewood home after that historic flood event in Fort Lauderdale, April 12th.
It is a big hit for us.
And then there's mold that has to be cleaned up. Andrea Figueroa said she sees it and smells it. So does her husband, who's undergoing cancer treatment. What makes you know there's mold?
Because there's dampness in the air.
That mold can make you sick.
Mold is indiscriminate in its affecting patients.
People with asthma or COPD need to be especially careful around mold, says Broward Health Chief Medical Officer Dr. Joshua Ledges.
Bleach and water mixture is probably best to take care of mold.
Consider wearing a mask and gloves if you are trying to remove mold.
After water is there for 24, 48 hours, mold can certainly begin to set in, and that can affect people's respiration. Symptoms that we usually hear about or see are wheezing, difficulty breathing, some chest tightness, runny or stuffy nose, itchy, watery eyes, puffy eyes. These would be indicators that you've probably been exposed to mold.
The Figueroas are staying in a hotel, trying to limit their mold exposure.
We're cleaning up the place, and still a lot of things to be taken care of.
That includes staying healthy while beating back the mold and trying to restore the home they have shared 45 years.
Mold, just one of the many problems created by all that flooding. You can see the cleanup goes on here in Edgewood, that neighborhood just north of the airport. Many people like the Figueroas have no flood insurance, so they and others have to come up with the money to fix all that mold problem and also to fix their property. In Fort Lauderdale, Joan Murray, CBS News, Miami.
We're taking action for you every day here on 7.
This time it's for a Wayne mother of 2 who says her family is constantly living under the threat of flooding and mold in their apartment.
7 Action News reporter Amira David is on the case to get results for her family. She joins us now live with more. Amira?
That's right, Dave, Glenda, this mother who lives here at Newberry Loft Apartments tells me she's been here for less than 2 months, but already she is on flood number 3 and she is really starting to grow worried about her 2 little boys, a 2-year-old and a newborn, and that's why she says she wrote into us for help. Alexis Gunter says this is her new normal. Fans attempting to dry out flooded carpets, buckets in the middle of the room.
They collected so much water that I had to dump them at least twice, just in a matter of 2 days.
The mother of two shows us this video from just days ago. The floor of her children's bedroom completely drenched in water. But this, she says, is simply the latest in a series of floods plaguing an apartment she moved into less than 2 months ago. Maintenance did come out and try to fix the issue, but when that didn't work, she says she was told the problem had been solved.
Why is it still raining in my living room? Why is my children's room flooded with 3 inches of water?
Worrying her even more, what could be growing in the walls as a result.
All black mold, all down here on the surface boards, in the corners and the cracks.
Gunter asked that it be tested for black toxic mold.
They refused to do anything about it. They just wiped it off with bleach.
And she believes it's making her sick.
I've been catching extremely bad headaches.
Gunter says Elite Property Management, which oversees her unit, agreed to put her in a hotel for 2 nights, but hadn't offered a more permanent solution. So I got on the case, starting with management. All right, so I just spoke with them. They told me they have no comment. Then heading to the city of Wayne, which promised to send out an inspector within 24 hours. And we did end up hearing from the management company in a statement. They said the comfort and safety of the tenants is our first priority. We have housed the tenants at no cost to them and will continue to do so as long as it is necessary. We will ensure the premises are safe for the tenants before they return. So as you heard there, they have agreed to put the tenants up in a hotel for as long as it takes, which was not the case before. We're going to make sure that happens. But if you have an issue you need us to look into, we want to hear from you. Just send us an email, tips@wxyz.com. For now, in Wayne, Amira David, 7 Action News.
So from 2 days to as long as it takes, you know, they're making.
We've been showing you people trying to pick up the pieces after all this flooding, but ripping apart this room is actually fixing a serious problem. Kim Tobin went along with a mold removal company here in Albuquerque that's been slammed since our first big storm in July. She has advice for people who have seen a lot of rain at their homes.
Ripped out carpet, cabinets pulled out of the wall, drywall cut out of the wall. The reason? Mold.
Oh no, not in New Mexico. I did not expect just a little bit of water could cause that much damage.
Eva Mueller has been helping her daughter who lives in this Albuquerque home and is allergic to mold. This mold is actually from the big storm in July. The mold spread fast and fierce through the home.
Well, it's been 7 weeks already. They're still closing off areas, and the family says they don't know exactly when they'll even be able to move back in.
If it didn't get properly dried out with professional drying equipment and meters to confirm it's dry, you may want to have somebody come out and take a look.
John Maddock from Paul Davis Restoration says mold can start growing in 72 hours. It usually starts in dark, low airflow areas like in cabinets, wall cavities, and the attic. He says you can't just wipe it down with bleach and expect it to disappear.
You don't really kill mold. It might go dormant, but the minute moisture or humidity is reintroduced, the problem surfaces again and goes airborne.
Ann Mueller has some advice for homeowners hit by the recent storm. Check it out right away.
Oh, very seriously, because you never know what kind of mold you have, and if it turns out to be black mold, that's even more serious and can influence your health.
Kim Tobin, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
Mold removal can cost thousands of dollars. Many people don't know if their homeowner's insurance covers mold removal. Make sure to check your policy. There are several health problems associated with mold. People sensitive to mold may experience a stuffy nose, irritated eyes, wheezing, or skin irritation. People allergic to mold may have difficulty breathing, but someone with a weakened immune system or chronic lung diseases could develop mold infections in their lungs, something you don't want.